You're done with work and you're riding the subway back to the apartment you share with your boyfriend. Wait, I've already revealed too much about what it takes to get a role in your awesome boyfriend's novel. A job, a city, and an apartment. Your boyfriend's a thoughtful guy, though. He doesn't write you into just any city, job, or apartment. First, the job. It can't make you smarter than him, so definitely not technology or engineering, or anything that requires an advanced degree. Creative is good. Advertising, maybe. Something that allows you to be dressed up and ogled by your superiors. He can write about this, showing that you're hot as well as naive. Let's say you're one bump up from an intern in an advertising firm. Second, the city. Duh, New York. Why? I'm assuming so he can demonstrate his commodity with a varied swath of humanity. Next, the apartment. His before you moved in. You found it small and dirty. You still find it small, but not so dirty. He writes about the feminine cleaning smells that you brought, and you wish he would clean the toilet once in a while. And you find yourself in the attainable position between nagging and doing it yourself. Of course, his readers will never know about this. Sounds fun, doesn't it? Television producer and writer Shonda Rhimes hates the phrase strong female character, and she's not afraid to admit it. In her 2016 interview with Bustle, she argues that autonomous women have long been absent from fiction, and this long-running trope is a terrible catch for any woman who is an independent and self-reliant, and pigeonholes them into one stereotype. She notes that women in fiction, particularly the women she writes about, are just people. Women are strong. It's just reality. Kathleen LaParpy takes this a step further, contending that women in fiction can be triumphant, powerful, vulnerable, quiet, and ultimately human. But this all starts with one simple question. Who is she? How to Be the Heroine in Your Awesome Boyfriend's Stupendous Novel by Kathleen LaParpy. Back to our story. You're waiting in the crowded subway station, and a stranger probably grabbed your butt, an incident your boyfriend will surely write about. And now you're finally coming up all those stairs to be reunited. Wait, it can't just be any girl that enters the inner sanctum. You have to hold one trait above all others. I know, the suspense is difficult, but you really want this part. It would make you almost famous. Not as famous as your boyfriend, but still. Do you want to know what you have to possess? Beauty. But you can't just be pretty, so don't get your hopes up. You have to be exceptionally beautiful. The kind of beauty that stands out even in New York. But don't worry, you're not perfect. You do have one flaw, and it probably has something to do with your breasts. Either too small or too big, and they leave you with an air of vulnerability, and an opportunity for him to write about them every time he describes you. Underneath that tight, boyish sweater, her small breasts remind me of unfed twin orphans I want to take home and care for. Are you still with me? Are you ready to go climb up all those stairs with your shapely legs? It's maybe your only time for fame. Let's go. Your shapely legs carry you up to the front door of your apartment, and you can hear the faint tapping of his fingers on the keyboard, and you find yourself momentarily annoyed that he hasn't started dinner yet. Then you throw the thought away. You enter into your small studio apartment, and there he is, your boyfriend's back, hunched over his computer. Is the hair at the nape of his neck starting to thin? That's not for you to notice. You will go into agonizing detail about it on page 93. You wish he would turn around so we could behold him, but he does not. Rather, he starts to type even faster. Do you want to hear what I wrote today, he says? It's epic. You turn back. Of course. He turns and looks at you. Here he is, your awesome boyfriend. As beautiful as you are, I understand if you are momentarily bothered. But don't be shallow. His true awesomeness lies on the inside. Outside? Well, unless he goes on for pages describing himself, I'll be brief. Imagine that kid that sits at the edge of the playground, the one in the ill-fitted sweater. Now stretch him to 6 feet tall, expand the nose, and thin the hair. You would still recognize the child from the playground. Would you feel sorry for him? a fact that he feels grateful as well as resentful for remembering the sense that he just recently arrived from another place. The truth is, he was born here, but his family was not, and the old world still clings to him. Wherever his parents are from has to have some requirements. It has to allow him to throw around murky foreign words, allows him to have a tragic history, to be able to provide a well of melancholy to draw from, and leaves him with a mother who smothers him with food and a father who broods over his unrealized ambition. So I understand what you're thinking. How does a girl like you, a beautiful, smart enough girl, be so in love with an unattractive, morbidly introspective man from a wacky family? The truth is because he's a genius naturally, and he's convinced of this sporadically. He does require hours of reassurance, but deep down, he knows it, and he expects you to too. But is his unauthentic genius and brooding self enough to overcome the spotty hygiene, the bouts of depression and heartburn, and the hours writing about the bouts of depression and heartburn, and not to mention the sex? Again, the sex, something he will write about and cleverly cloaked, yet painfully easy to envision detail. It would be interesting to learn your perspective about his surreal doggish tactics. Did you really reach the levels of ecstasy he describes on page 43, 54, and 79? It almost stretches the reader's credibility that he could be that talented with his tongue. But back to my question. Is this phenomenal genius enough for a little fireplug like you? Isn't it a common knowledge that beautiful women are fickle and don't have the endurance to support such brilliance? This question will have to wait, because he wants to read, and we are here to listen. He starts by asking me, what do you think the single biggest threat to humanity is? And you glance out the window at the fall day, and you say climate change. Ah, my little dumpling head. Technology, surveillance, the loss of souls to social media. Listen. He adopts into his reading voice. Alexander closed his eyes, and the digital veil fell. With the pulse of retina muscles, he pulled up the entire electronic history of the astonishingly beautiful, very young woman with a bewilderingly mature breast standing next to him. Your mind starts to flitter down the 4 flights of stairs and onto the street, and into the little Italian restaurant on the corner. You imagine the candle flickering and the first sip of red wine. You came here once with your boyfriend, but he found the red sauce to be too garlicky, the bread to be too bready, and the prices to be too high. Now, in your mind, it's not your boyfriend sitting next to you, but a book. You will never know how long he read out loud into an empty apartment before he realized you were gone. So consider my surprise when a year later, you find yourself in a bookstore. And in spite of yourself, you are drawn to this glossy stack of his newly published novels. The cover jaunty yet juvenile, all at the same time. And you flip to the back, and you find yourself in the same little Italian restaurant. Except you're not alone this time. There's a man waiting for you, and you dash down. This is someone your boyfriend knows. Someone who used to taunt him growing up. Someone who stole you away with his bland American handsomeness. And someone who will prove, yet again, that the nice guys, the smart ones, will always finish last. At least this gives them something to write about. Again and again.